My name is Karen Callis. I'm 36 years old, and 3 months ago I discovered that the man I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with had quietly erased our entire safety net like it meant nothing. It didn't happen during some dramatic argument or obvious red flag. It happened while I was sitting at the dining table, reviewing tax documents, sipping lukewarm coffee, thinking I was just being responsible. That's when I opened our savings account statement and felt my stomach drop. We had nearly $25,000 saved. Years of discipline, late nights, skipped vacations. It was supposed to be our cushion, our in case everything falls apart fund. But the balance? Almost zero. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a glitch, something temporary. Then I started scrolling. Transaction after transaction. Weekly transfers. 500 here, 800 there. Then one massive $4,000 withdrawal, all sent to one account, his sister's. I remember the way my hands trembled, not from anger yet, but from disbelief. I kept thinking there had to be an explanation. Something I was missing. Something that would make it make sense. That night, I found him in the kitchen, casually seasoning chicken like it was just another evening, like he hadn't just erased years of our life together. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I was looking at our savings account." He didn't even turn around. "Okay, it's empty." There was a pause. 2 seconds, maybe 3. Then he shrugged slightly and kept cooking. "Oh yeah, my sister needed help with the wedding." The way he said it so casual, so indifferent, it hit harder than the numbers ever could. "You gave her $23,000, I said slowly, without even asking me. He finally turned, irritation already creeping into his expression. "She's my sister Karen. The wedding's in 2 months. They needed deposits, venue, catering, dresses. You know how expensive weddings are. I know how expensive having no emergency savings is." That's when his face changed. Not guilt, not regret, just annoyance, like I was the inconvenience. "We'll rebuild it," he said. "You make good money. Just pick up extra work. Stay late a few nights. It's not a big deal." Something inside me went very still. "Stay late?" I repeated. "I already work 60 hours a week." "So work 70, he snapped. "Other women do it. Other women." I stared at him, really seeing him for the first time in years. The man who thought my exhaustion was negotiable. The man who believed my health was expendable, as long as his sister got her perfect wedding photos. "I'm already barely sleeping," I said quietly. "I've been having chest pains." He rolled his eyes. "You sit at a desk all day, Karen. It's not like you're doing manual labor. Just push through it. Problem solved." That was the moment everything broke. Not the money. Not even the betrayal. It was the realization that he genuinely didn't care what it was costing me. I had been burning out for over a year, drowning in deadlines, surviving on caffeine and anxiety. I stayed because of that savings account. Because it meant I had a safety net. A way out if I needed it. And he took that from me, then told me to work harder to replace it. I felt strangely calm when I spoke again. "I can't work overtime." He frowned. "Why not?" "Because I'm quitting." The silence that followed was almost beautiful. His expression shifted rapidly. Confusion, disbelief, then anger. "Excuse me?" "I'm done," I said. "I've been thinking about it for months. You just made the decision easier." "You can't quit," he snapped. "How are we supposed to pay the mortgage? The car? My credit cards?" I tilted my head slightly. "You probably should have thought about that before spending our entire emergency fund on your sister's wedding." That's when he started yelling about how selfish I was, how I made decisions without him, how his sister deserved happiness after everything she'd been through, which, as far as I knew, meant breaking up with one guy and getting engaged to another 3 months later. I let him talk. Then I walked into the spare bedroom, closed the door, and opened my laptop. Instead of job listings, I searched for business licenses. 3 weeks later, I handed in my resignation. My boss gave me a rehearsed speech about how much I'd be missed, but I saw the relief behind his eyes. One less burned-out employee to manage. One less ticking time bomb. At home, things were worse. "You're not serious," my boyfriend said the first night. "You'll change your mind." I didn't. Then came the anger. "You're sabotaging our entire life." Then bargaining. "Okay, I'm sorry about the money. Just keep your job and we'll figure it out." Then more anger. "My family thinks you're abusive. Financial abuse is real, you know." I almost laughed at that. The garden business wasn't as random as he made it sound. My grandfather had owned a small nursery. He taught me everything: how to coax life out of soil, how to be patient, how to grow something real. I'd been doing it for years as a hobby, selling herbs to neighbors, building custom planters for friends. It was the only thing that ever made me feel calm. So I took what little I had left money, in a separate account he didn't know about, and invested it. Greenhouse panels, seeds, soil, permits, a basic website. The day the greenhouse was delivered, he stood in the yard staring at it like I'd lost my mind. "What is that?" he demanded. "My business." "You're serious? You quit a 6-figure job to grow plants?" "Not just plants," I said. "Herbs. Microgreens. Specialty produce." He laughed. Actually laughed. What happened to the woman I fell in love with? I met his gaze evenly. She got tired of funding weddings she wasn't even invited to. That shut him up. The first month was brutal. My income dropped to almost nothing. His part-time job barely covered a fraction of our expenses. The mortgage alone was more than he made. "Just go back to your old job," he kept saying. Instead, I cashed out part of my retirement fund. The penalty hurt, but not as much as staying would have. Then the credit card bill arrived, and everything shifted again. The envelope sat on the kitchen table like it knew exactly what it was about to do to us. He picked it up first. I watched his face as he flipped it open, confusion at first, then a slow tightening around his eyes, then something sharper. Panic. Real panic. 8,000? He whispered. I didn't say anything. He looked up at me like I had just betrayed him. $8,000, Karen. How did this happen? I leaned back against the counter, arms crossed. Well, when you spend money, it tends to add up. Don't, he snapped. Don't be smart right now. We can't pay this. The words hung in the air, heavy and desperate. Sounds like a you problem, I said quietly. His head jerked back. Excuse me? It's your card, I continued, my voice calm. Too calm. I'm just an authorized user. Your name's on it. Your responsibility. I watched the color drain from his face in real time. You're lying, he said. Without a word, I walked over, pulled out the drawer, and dropped the card agreement in front of him. Black ink. Clear terms. No ambiguity. Primary cardholder. Him. He stared at it like it might rearrange itself into something kinder. But I can't afford this, he said. Softer now. I make $2,000 a month. I shrugged slightly. Maybe your sister can help. That was the wrong thing to say. He slammed his hand on the table so hard the envelope jumped. Her wedding is next month. That money is gone. Funny, I murmured. That's exactly what I said about our savings. The silence that followed wasn't loud. It was suffocating. For the first time since all of this started, he didn't have a comeback. The wedding came and went without me. I spent that Saturday at a farmer's market, standing behind a folding table under a cheap canopy, selling basil, heirloom tomatoes, and small bundles of edible flowers to people who asked too many questions and paid in exact change. $600. It wasn't much, but it was mine. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was suffocating. He came home late that night, still in his wrinkled suit, tie hanging loose, anger practically radiating off him. It was a disaster. he said before I could even ask. She kept complaining the whole night about the venue, about the decorations, about how rustic everything looked. I blinked. After everything you gave her, she said it would have been perfect if we'd had more money, he snapped. Then his eyes locked onto mine. If you hadn't quit your job. There it was, always circling back to me. The wedding would have been perfect, I said slowly, if she'd paid for it herself. His jaw tightened, but he didn't argue, because somewhere deep down, he knew. The debt didn't go away after the wedding. If anything, it got worse. The minimum payment alone was more than he could afford. After rent, car, phone, he barely had anything left. I could see it in the way he started checking his bank app constantly, the way he avoided opening mail, the way his voice got tighter every time money came up. One night, he finally said it. "We're supposed to help each other," he muttered. "We're in this together." I looked at him for a long moment, like how you helped yourself to our savings. His face twisted. "I told you I was going to pay it back." "You haven't paid back a single dollar." That's when the plate hit the wall. It shattered just to my left, ceramic exploding across the tile like something inside him had finally cracked open. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he turned and locked himself in the bedroom. I stood there, staring at the mess, heart pounding but not from fear, from clarity. I grabbed a broom, cleaned it up, and went back outside to the greenhouse. There was work to do, and unlike everything else in my life, this made sense. 6 weeks in, things started to shift. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough. A small restaurant reached out after seeing my stall at the market. They wanted fresh herbs, weekly consistent supply, good quality, $400 a week. I read the message 3 times just to make sure it was real. When I told him, he barely reacted. "That's not even close to what you used to make," he said flatly. "No," I agreed, "but it's a start." He didn't respond. Because deep down, I think he realized something terrifying. I wasn't coming back. The real breaking point came after his meeting with a debt counselor. He walked in that evening looking smaller, like someone had taken all the air out of him. "They said I should consider bankruptcy," he said. I winced slightly. That bad? That bad. For a moment, the room felt different. Quieter. Heavier. Then he looked at me, really looked this time. Not defensive. Not angry. Just tired. "Karen," he said softly, "please, help me fix this." And for a second, just one, I almost said yes. 8 years doesn't disappear overnight. It lingers, in habits, in memories, in the way you still reach for them without thinking. "I'm sorry," he added quickly. "I shouldn't have taken the money. I should have talked to you. I messed up." There it was, the apology I had been waiting for. Too late. "I'll help," I said finally. Hope flickered in his eyes so fast it hurt to watch. "But only if you agree to 2 things, he nodded immediately. "Anything." "Marriage counseling," I said. "And your sister pays back at least half of what you gave her." The hope vanished. "She can't," he said. "They're broke. The money's gone." "Then I guess you'll have to figure something else out." His face hardened again, the softness disappearing like it had never been there. "You've changed," he said bitterly. "You're not the same person anymore." I held his gaze. "You're right," I said quietly. "The woman you knew wouldn't have let this happen." That night, he slept in the living room, and for the first time in months, I slept peacefully, because somewhere deep down, I knew this wasn't a rough patch. This was the end. The divorce papers were served on a Tuesday morning. I remember because I was watering a row of basil seedlings when my phone buzzed, and his name lit up the screen, not with a message, but with a notification from an unknown number attached to it. A digital copy. Clean. Cold. Final. He filed first. That almost made me laugh. For weeks, He had been the one calling me heartless, accusing me of abandoning him, telling anyone who would listen that I had changed. And yet, when it came time to make it official, he was the one who pulled the trigger. I didn't call him. I didn't argue. I just signed. By then, my life had already started shifting into something unrecognizable in the best way. The greenhouse was no longer just an experiment. It was working. Not perfectly. Not easily. But steadily. 3 restaurant contracts. 2 small grocery stores willing to take weekly deliveries. The farmer's market booth that used to feel like survival now felt like momentum. In my first 3 months, I made $11,000. Not 6 figures. But it didn't come with panic attacks. Or chest pain. Or the constant feeling that I was one deadline away from breaking. And that mattered more than I expected. The mediation was where everything finally surfaced. He walked in with his lawyer young, polished, confident in that way people are when they think the outcome is obvious. I could almost hear what they expected. The high-earning girlfriend who walked away from stability, now responsible for supporting the man she left behind. Except that wasn't the story anymore. My lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman who had handled my grandfather's estate, didn't say much at first. She just listened. Let his lawyer lay out their demands like it was routine. Half the house, support payments, a portion of my retirement. And this one almost impressed me, the request that I help cover his credit card debt. I watched him while they spoke. He didn't look at me. Not once. When it was my lawyer's turn, she didn't raise her voice, didn't argue emotionally. She just opened a folder and started placing documents on the table, one by one. Bank statements, transfer records, dates, amounts. $23,000, moved quietly over 4 months. Then the credit card statements, $8,700, accumulated after I left my job, the job I had left because of what he did. You're asking for support, my lawyer said calmly, from the person your client financially undermined. His lawyer tried to pivot. Talk about my earning potential. The career I had abandoned. The income I could still be making. My lawyer didn't even blink. She left a high-stress environment that was affecting her health, she replied. She built a legitimate business. You don't calculate support based on a life someone chose to leave, especially when your client's actions forced that decision. Silence. Long, uncomfortable silence. For the first time since all of this started, I saw it. Doubt. On his side of the table. We settled 2 hours later. 50-50 split of the house. No support, no shared debt. I kept my business, my equipment, my future. He kept his car, and everything that came with it. He signed the papers like each stroke of the pen cost him something. Maybe it did. The house sold faster than I expected. The market was still strong, and within weeks, everything we had built together was reduced to numbers on a statement. After the mortgage was paid and the equity divided, I walked away with $67,000. So did he. I found out later he used most of it immediately, paying off the credit card, the car, trying to patch holes that were already too deep. It wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. I bought land, not a big house, not anything impressive. 3 acres just outside the city. Quiet, open, real. The kind of place where mornings start with sunlight instead of notifications. I built a proper greenhouse this time. Set up irrigation. Expanded what I had started in the backyard into something that finally felt permanent. I even started keeping bees. The first time I harvested honey, I stood there holding the jar, hands sticky, heart full, and realized something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. I heard about him through mutual friends, living back with his parents, working more hours, still struggling. There were whispers about other credit cards, debts I had never known about, patterns that went deeper than one wedding, one decision, one mistake. His sister's marriage didn't last either. 6 months. All that money, all that sacrifice, for something that collapsed faster than it was built. When I heard that, I didn't feel vindicated, just certain. A week after everything was finalized, his mother sent me a message. Simple, unexpected. I'm sorry for how things ended. He made poor choices and I should have said something sooner. I hope you're doing well. I stared at it for a long time before replying. Thank you. I hope he figures things out. And I meant it. Just not with me. Last month, my business brought in $3,800. Next month, it'll be more. A local meal prep company reached out exclusive contract. $2,000 a month guaranteed. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, but every dollar feels honest, earned, mine. Sometimes, on the harder days, when equipment breaks, when money feels tight, I think about the life I left behind. The salary, the stability, the version of me who stayed because it felt safe. Then I remember sitting at that table, staring at an empty account, listening to the man I loved tell me to just work harder, like my health didn't matter, like my limits didn't exist, like I was something he could spend. And I realized I didn't lose anything that day. I was set free. He wanted a life where money solved everything. I wanted a life where money wasn't everything. It just took $23,000 for me to finally understand the difference. And honestly, best money we ever lost. Just not for the reasons he thought.